Hi, this is Steve Bailey. I was a professor of finance at the University of Missouri St. Louis. I have a law degree. I practiced law for about 20 years prior to getting that job. I also at one point had the CFP certificate, which is the Certified Financial Planning Certificate, and that got me in the door to be able to teach in the finance department as an adjunct professor of finance, that is a lecturer, if you will. And one of the courses I was able to teach was retirement plans, and I'm going to try to somewhat replicate some of my knowledge and some of what students demonstrated to me so that employers and employees can be somewhat informed or better informed about the nature of these retirement plans. It's you know, it can be a puzzling field, and a lot of times we gloss over stuff pretty quickly and just say you do this and you do that. I also can help you with the investment side of it. You know, I'm not going to guarantee any kind of return, but I can get you to begin thinking in a way that might be productive for you long term. So the first type of retirement plan we think of, or at least I think of, is a defined benefit plan, or better known as a pension. These were kind of the hallmark up until we passed the legislation creating the 401k, which is a cash or deferred arrangement, and then we added the IRAs, which began more of a personal savings plan. What we get in a pension is essentially a pooled annuity savings plan. And an annuity, if you don't get it, is you pay in now, you keep paying in, or sometimes you can just make a one-time purchase, and then at some later point in time, you withdraw the funds in terms of some sort of agreed salary or periodic distribution. For most of us, it's going to be monthly. A simple example is Social Security. You're forced into a pooled annuity savings plan, which, you know, I can go digress about. You know, I think they need to modify how they invest in it, but there are some pitfalls with putting that money in the stock market, liquidity, etc. You know, you could get it. It's just too much money maybe to throw into, and then who do you pick to buy, and blah, 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 blah. So in Social Security, we buy almost entirely U.S. Treasuries, which are the debts of the United States of America, which are substantial. And the payments tend to be, you know, tied to what the Federal Reserve sets our interest rates at. When we get to how to invest, we'll see that it's extremely hard to get enough money to sort of double. If you want to make, you know, the stock market, at least for me, things like index funds tend to be sort of blind squirrel investment ways to accumulate large amounts of cash from which you can then withdraw about a 4%. It's sort of how major charities work. They pull out about 4% of the initial donation. You give a university $100,000, they'll use $4,000 of it each year thereafter, and hopefully the investment grows over time and, you know, outpaces inflation, and they have more and more and more and more and more. And once that fund is set up, they get more money in, and, you know, more money creates better returns and better investments. A pension plan basically starts off with employee and usually employer contributions. Sometimes it's just purely employer contributions. And they may or may not have an addition where you can pay in a little bit more, and that will get you a better end result. So what you're really, these are great. If you've got, say, a government job, which tends to be a lifetime appointment, not always, but could be, if you like the work and, that's what you want to do, it can be real nice. I mean, teachers' pensions pay pretty well if you've stayed there for 20 years or more. So I give you an example here. One of the numbers we found was that you get about 33 1/3 years of service, and then they don't really count it anymore. So how's the benefit going to be calculated? Well, in most pension plans, it's likely to be on your highest or your last earning period. In Social Security, they take about your 5 highest years. Not all the pension plans I've looked at are quite that generous. The Social Security is backed by the full faith and credit of the taxpayers of the United States of America, foreign and domestic. And here we're basically backed by the full faith and credit of the insurer, because usually these are passed off to an insurance company, which then takes them and invests them in a tranche of investments, bonds, stocks, real estate. If you look at investment by insurance companies, there's a reason most insurance companies last a long time. They don't put all their eggs in one basket. They don't just put everything in the current hot stock like, General Electric was a great company to own for a good solid 80 years, but it began to lose its luster at some point in time. But if you have it and about 500 or 2,000 others, you've got a really high likelihood that 80% of them will continuously grow and produce income and get stronger and stronger and stronger over time. And that's basically how the stock market works. So I'm a big fan of the stock market, at least up to this point in my life. It's made great, it's helped me retire. It's helped me get to a place where I can retire. We see a lot of, my example is a person with 30%, with 10 years gets 30%, and someone with 33 1/3 might get 85%. Well, you can see that, it sort of credits it perhaps at 3% a year, and then later in life it may credit it more slowly. It's very rare they replicate 100% of your employment, post-employment. The theory being that you really don't necessarily need that because you don't have all the costs of going to work. Clothing, travel, transportation, meals out. You can cook at home and take care. So, even with a pension plan, it's helpful to have some savings in the background because there's just not a guarantee. It's pretty rare these fail, but they do. Insurance companies go belly up. Employers go belly up. If you go into bankruptcy, the pension plan is one of the primary creditors. They're secured creditors, and they're on the top of the list. We're going to pay that employee as much as we can out of the remaining assets of this corporation or employer. And that depends too, are we in a fire sale situation, or are we in a, hey, we're trying to renegotiate our debt situation, and we'll reaffirm a lot of our obligations and get rid of some of them because those are unsecured. We'll try to get rid of a lot of our unsecured creditors, but pension plans tend to be a secured creditor. The last backstop is the Pension Benefit Guaranty Corporation of the government of the United States of America. And one drawback, but potentially also a good thing, is that the issuing insurer or employer determines the investment mix. So they're going to try to go a little bit more middle of the road because they've got a whole bunch of people they've got to satisfy. And, whereas I might take on more risk than John or Sarah, and Sarah might take on way more risk than I do, actually, when you peel the bark off, or might be extremely conservative and just be holding bonds. And bonds are essentially debt. We give you our bond, our word, it's written out, that we will repay this debt plus pay you interest. The classic case of a bond is a $10,000 bond, 10-year duration. It pays the interest every year, and then you get the $10,000 back at the end. Well, as we've seen, we've got kind of designed inflation for good or ill in our economic system. We sort of depreciate the dollar, because that's really what inflation is. It depreciates purchasing power of the standard currency over time. I'm not certain why this is what we do. I guess it's to make it all more interesting, but I think that there's always going to be a need for government debt. It's just when it gets overwhelming that you're going to find this guy getting a little bit upset with our government. So my purpose is really much more to look at all the defined contribution plans. And so here's a list of all of them, or at least all the ones that I'm aware of and all the ones that I taught. And you can see right at the top is the 401k, which is the cash or deferred arrangements. So this is Title 26 of the United States Code, Section 401k. And if you want some really nice, fun reading, you might want to read the insurance code, the tax code, because it's a book. It's just incredibly thick, and then you haven't even looked at rules and regulations and decisions of the tax court and decisions of the various district and circuit courts and the Supreme Court about how to implement almost all of this. I studied that in law school. It was fascinating, but I also realized that the whole code is written sort of insurance, money manager, insurance, accountant, and lawyer speak, and they mix around and they float around, and it's kind of anyway, that's the one that's available for most private entities, corporations, sole proprietorships, et cetera, et cetera. We'll spend more time on it generally. The 403B is a defined contribution plan generally available to certain public employees. I think I failed to mention in the defined contribution plan slide, as I was talking about that a lot of public employees have a defined contribution. They have a defined payout plan, defined benefit plan, a DBP, and they get some amount. Well, I mentioned just like teachers do really well with it. It is an unfunded liability, as far as I can tell, of the federal government, that most of those workers have a pension coming to them. And it's going to be based on some kind of fairly generous salary deal. A 403B is basically a modification of the 401k for public employees. The 457B is an adjunct to that. It's an additional one, or sometimes it's the only one available to like part-time employees. That's going to vary bit by bit, and we'll learn more about that as we go right into these plans. The Keogh plan is kind of a brilliant little system, but it's fallen into pretty deep disuse. It's pretty complex. In order to run one, you definitely need an accountant and a lawyer. Not definitely, but I would not hazard creating one without one. There are still some in play. I'll probably do a brief talk on that. Then we'd come to, what about places that have, say, a less than 100 employees, or 250 employees? They may or may not want all of the regulatory burden that comes with a 401k. Is there something more simple that we can do? And there's a SEP, Simplified Employee Pension Plans, which are basically IRAs. And they've got annual funding limits. I don't know that you can get the employer match, which you can in the 401k, and that's worth dealing with. There's also something called the Simple, which definitely has matches, but they're limited to, I believe, 2, 3, or 4%, depending on what plan you pick, so that they're okay. And they are extremely easy to administer. They don't have a lot of administrative costs. The owner or the accountant or somebody in the office can probably take care of them. You'd want to have a committee look at them periodically to make sure the administration is proper and that the books balance, et cetera, et cetera. But it's worth a look, at least starting out. And it can always you can take those assets and design your 401k, if you get big enough, to permit those assets to sit. Or, of course, these people could just pull them out and put them into their own IRA, just a rollover IRA, and you can get rid of the Simple, or you can leave parts of it in place here, and we've only got the 401k at our manufacturing plant. This can be a little bit all over the place, but some caution needs to be exercised because these regulations and the law tends to favor the employee. The employer needs to tread fairly lightly and make sure that they're not running afoul of the rules and regs. I can't possibly give you each and every one of them that you could run afoul of, but we'll try to highlight some of the major ones that we see. The next thing I have here is a solo 401k, which is this baby right here. And this is really kind of an interesting thing. Say that you are a consultant for a firm or a variety of firms, and you also have a regular full-time or part-time job that even maybe has a 401k or maybe has a defined benefit plan, or a 403b that you're contributing to. You may be able to do your own 401k. And these are extremely simple to administer. Basically, all you need to do is find, at least for me, that's what I did. We just found a mutual fund company that would offer it as a product, and and just boilerplate signed the agreement, because all we're trying to do was save money for us or that individual individually. And so all the major players in the mutual fund market offer these. They also offer boilerplate 401ks, and they'll do a lot of the administration, blah, 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 and that's a fabulous way to go too. You know, you take this off your plate and you put the investments over with whichever company you choose. I'm tempted to rattle off the ones that you might want to work with, but you may or may not have a broker, or you may have a bunch of brokers that you get to compete over who gets this listing. Then another item, and this is a personal item, the IRA, individual retirement account. And there are two types. There's the individual retirement account, which is all it's pre-tax dollars. When you pull the money out, all of it is taxable. Now, it's possible before the advent of the Roth IRA that you couldn't contribute to this for some part of it, and you had to pay taxes on it, and you actually had a tax basis that you could slowly move out as you pull the money out. There used to be some income limits on who can contribute to an IRA because they don't want the wealthy dropping $2 billion into an IRA and not being able to access. They'd rather have that out in brokerage accounts where if that person's trading, we can get the capital gains taxes off of it. So all of this is in the code, okay, which is the Internal Revenue Code, which I believe is Title 26. As the Title 28 is the rules of procedure in the United States courts and thereabouts. And I can't remember exactly when the Roth IRA came, and I should have looked it up before I started talking. But let's just say it's around 2001. A senator named Roth proposed something where you could pay tax on the contribution now, and all the withdrawals, once it sits in the account for 5 years, are tax-free. So that for young people who aren't in an elevated tax bracket, the Roth is perfect, perfect, perfect. For people in elevated tax brackets, it's questionable whether that's an absolute good use of your money. I would tend to say that you're better off in the market, and and you don't, you don't have to be above 20% taxation. That's just me. Your tax consultant may say otherwise. You may say, well, what you ought to do is half of it in a Roth and half of it or some other number in a regular IRA. That can get somewhat confusing later in life. If you don't stay on top of this and keep up with the rules, and you don't have an accountant or other tax professional you can trust to help you here. But that Roth, not paying taxes when you get to be my age, I'm retired. It's kind of nice because it's a little bit of a, oh really, I got to pay taxes on my old 401k, 403b, the rollover stuff, 457 roller stuff, because I have a mixture of all of that money in a rollover IRA. And I also had my own IRA that we funded every year. And it's kind of like, I got to pay tax on that? I thought it was tax deferred. It is tax deferred. It's not tax exempt. And the Roth IRA is similar. It's taxable now, but not taxable on withdrawal. So we'll spend more time on each of these, hopefully. And thanks for watching.